Hello and welcome to the part 2 of nationalism in India. So, when we refer to the timeline of India, we have discussed that with the entry of the British, the East India Company came as traders and then they expanded the territory after acquiring the Diwani rights and the Battle of Plassey, Buxar, and many more, stage by stage, in the First War of Indian Independence, the Sepoy Mutiny, then the establishment of the Indian National Congress, which created a sense of collective belongingness amongst the people, followed by the Muslim League formation asking for separate existence regions for the Muslims, rights for the minorities. The first proposed idea of partition on 1930 January 26th, they wanted to have attainment of complete Purna Swaraj. Later, the Muslims began existing. They wanted to separate themselves and ask for a separate state of Islam. What are the causes? The causes for the movement to spread further. We studied that the NCM, the non cooperation movement, was able to create the sense of collective belongingness amongst the people of the cities and the towns, as well as at the countryside, and different people had their different expectations. Gandhiji told that in his book Hind Swaraj, the British are able to rule us only because we are cooperating, and when we stop cooperating, the British rule will come to an end. And he also told that if this movement is not going to be successful, he will launch a complete civil disobedience movement. And these are the causes for the civil disobedience movement. Number one, the Great Depression, which occurred, and the India's exports and imports nearly became half. Between 1928 and 34, the exports and imports fell down. The international prices crashed. The prices in India also have reduced. Between 1928 and 34, the wheat prices in India fell down by 50%. The farmers suffered a lot. They had a lot of demand in the not only Indian market as well as the international market. Agricultural prices fell down sharply. The colonial government refused to reduce the revenue demands. Under any circumstances, the peasants were compelled to pay the tax. This depression worst hit the peasants. The depression proved less grim for the urban people because they had their savings, they were able to manage their life. The falling prices, those with fixed incomes, they were able to make their living because they were salaried employees. They found themselves in a better position when compared to the people who had to survive on the salaried income. So, the next important reason for the civil disobedience movement is the arrival of Sir John Simon. Sir John Simon, he came to India with the motive of making constitutional reforms. A foreigner is coming into India to make reforms to Indian constitution. The problem was that the commission did not have a single Indian member. They were all the British. When the Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928, Indians enraged and greeted them. Simon, go back. They will not accept a rule which is going to be given by the British, who are going to make constitutional reforms. Then the pact of Gandhi Irwin, Lord Irwin and Gandhiji. Gandhiji reached Lord Irwin with his proposal for 11 demands. They were most essential demands, and it was a political agreement signed by Gandhiji and the then Viceroy of India, Lord Irwin. Lord Irwin on the 5th of March 1931, before the second roundtable conference was held in London. The proposals were the stopping of civil disobedience movement. The civil disobedience movement, which was launched by Gandhiji, he requested, he pleaded for the stoppage of the civil disobedience movement and the participation of Indian National Congress in the second roundtable conference, withdrawal of all laws issued by the British government, forcing checks on exercise of the Indian National Congress, the release of prisoners who were arrested during the civil disobedience movement. Large number of people who were in the movement were arrested. This also permitted free collection and also manufacture of salt by the persons near the sea coast. Lord Irwin and Gandhiji's pact, they wanted an end of the movement, and Gandhiji had to represent himself at the second roundtable conference. When he went and attended the second roundtable conference, Gandhiji found that it is not fruitful and his pleas and requests were not accepted. So he had to return disheartened. And when he returned from the second roundtable conference, he understood that Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru were in jail. They the promise was made by the Britishers that those who are arrested will be released, but more and more leaders were arrested and put in the jail. The Congress had been declared illegal as an association, and the series of procedures had been enforced to prevent any kind of meeting, demonstration, rally, and also boycott. With great apprehension, Gandhiji had again relaunched the movement of civil disobedience in 1932, but it did not have its momentum. He started in 1930 with the aim that the people, the British, and all will realize the importance. Historical Dandi March from the Sabarmati ashram to the coast of Dandi. When he started with 78 delegates covering 240 miles, everywhere people joined his march and all of them reached Gandhiji, along with so many people, he marched into the Dandi village, and there they have manufactured the salt. The historical Dandi march. People realized how important is salt. Salt was to be consumed by both rich and poor. What is the significance event of this is that women played a very important role. According to Gandhiji, women were to be good mothers. They had to take care of home and hearth. Hearth is chula and choki, means they need to take care of the house and the cooking and take care of the children, their upbringing. He did not believe in greater role of women, but women, taking the call of Gandhiji as one of their important objectives, they marched in the protest. They picketed the foreign cloth and the liquor shops. They made a human chain and stopped the entry into those regions. Many of them played an important role, and they had to get their recognition. Rani Lakshmi Bai, Aruna Asaf Ali, Sarojini Naidu, Usha Mehta, Madam Bikaji Kama, Kasturba Gandhi, Begum Hasrat Mahal, Kamla Nehru, Annie Besant, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. These are few among the great ladies who played a very important role in creating the sense of collective belongingness amongst the people. There are so many unsung heroes, and the women of the soil, sons and daughters of the soil, who have attributed their sacrifice for the nation. On the other hand, merchants played an important role during the civil disobedience movement. The attitude of the Indian merchants and the industrialists during the civil disobedience movement was that they expected that the impositions which the British has done on them, they wanted those impositions to be lifted. They wanted the protection against the import of foreign goods, and a rupee sterling value, the foreign exchange ratio that would discourage the import. These two objectives should be taken care. Their imports which are coming from other countries, that should be at low cost, and their exports which were going out of the country, they need to pay customs duty that has to reduce. Otherwise, the price of the goods will be very high, exorbitant, and the demand will be lost. To organize business interest, to protect their interest, and from exploitation of the British, they formed the Indian Industrial Commercial Congress in 1920 and the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industries in 1927. They gave financial assistance and refused to buy or sell imported goods. Most businessmen came to see Swaraj as a time when colonial restrictions on the business would no longer exist, and trade and industry would flourish without constraints or obstacles. After the failure of the Round Table Conference, the business groups were no longer having the enthusiasm. They believed their beliefs, their apprehensions, everything were scattered. What is the difference between the NCM and the CDM? NCM, people refused to cooperate with the government during the non cooperation movement. People broke the laws during the civil disobedience movement. Gandhiji requested that unless the participation of the people happens, and when they have violated the salt law after marching to the coast of Dandi and manufacturing the salt, abolition of salt law, everybody can manufacture. It's a basic need, can be used by everybody. It has to be consumed by everybody. So violation of the rule imposed by the British. The Muslims participated in large numbers in the non cooperation movement because that was accompanied by the Khilafat movement. There we saw the historical unification of Hindus and Muslims for the very first time, asking for the demand of Ali brothers, restoration of the Khalifa to the throne. Whereas the Muslim participation in the civil disobedience movement was lukewarm, it was very less. No tax campaign was not there in non cooperation movement, but the people refused to pay taxes in the civil disobedience movement. Until unless people raise their voice, the British will not understand the plight of the people. The participation of women we have seen, and we saw that these women were not just onlookers, but they participated with greater enthusiasm. The Round Table Conference. The three roundtable conferences were held in London, and the first roundtable conference was held in London to discuss Simon Commission report. It was boycotted by the Congress. Gandhiji was released in 1931. After signing the pact, the civil disobedience movement was to be suspended. In the second roundtable conference in September 1931, it was again a failure and did not agree to any of the demands which the Congress or Gandhiji made to the British. Gandhiji returned to India to once again relaunch the civil disobedience movement. Ambedkar and Tej Bahadur Sapru. These two members took part in all the three conferences, roundtable conferences. Mahatma Gandhi took part in the second roundtable conference, came back very disappointed, and roundtable conference failed because of the opposition from the other parties as well, representing, for example, Muslim League and princely states, and also the uh, struggle of Ambedkar, the people's lord, the depressed classes were looking at Ambedkar. They demanded that the reservation of the seats in educational institution, separate electorate to choose their candidate in the legislative council. Only then their social problems will be solved. Dr. Ambedkar, the leader of the Dalits, he formed the Depressed Classes Association in 1930. He clashed with Gandhiji in the second roundtable conference, asking for separate electorate. Gandhiji went fast unto death. He thought if the nation is going to split on the basis of different electorates, then the concept of unity will be lost. Then the great discussions between the two great visionaries happened, and finally the pact, Pune Pact, was signed in 1932, and that resolved the problem of separate electorate for the Dalits, where they could represent, they could contest, and the problems can be heard. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, the man who was called as Frontier Gandhi. When Gandhiji went to the round table conference, before his aims and aspirations will be fulfilled, everything was disappointed. He came back with heavy heart to only notice that Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, one of the leading men, um, um, independent fighters asking for freedom and the rights for the people, he was arrested. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru also was arrested. At the Congress session, which was held at Lahore, the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru, the decision was taken that Purna Swaraj, complete independence, will be launched, and that complete independence will be launched on 26th January 1930, which the movement started but could not be achieved. The Indian National Army, which was started by Subhash Chandra Bose, the man with a vision. An individual may die for an idea, but that idea will, after his death, incarnate itself in 1,000 lives. That is how the wheel of evolution moves on, and the ideas and the dreams of one nation are bequeathed, handed over, gifted to the next generation. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Another important personality, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was the founder, and the Muslim League, which was founded in 1906. He played a very important role in creating the aim and representing the interests of the Muslims, because Congress gave lukewarm response to the needs, aims, aspirations of the Muslims. This is the map of India showing all the important Congress sessions: Kolkata session September 20, Nagpur session December 20, Bombay session 1885, Lahore session 1929, and Madras 1927. The Lucknow Pact, which came into existence in 1916-17, after that is during the period of the World War One, when the British promised that if India represents them in the World War, then it will grant freedom. Lord Chelmsford invitation for suggestions from the Indian politicians for the post-war World War One reforms that further helped in the development of this situation. The Congress agreed Muslims' demand for separate electorate. They wanted separate seats for the Muslims, so that being minorities, their interests should not be stake. They should be safeguarded, and uh, their aims should be fulfilled. The cultural factors played an important role in creating the sense of collective belongingness. Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyaya created the image of Bharat Mata. Rabindranath Tagore painted her image. Bharat Mata looked like, in the beginning, a sannyasi, calm, composed, divine, ascetic, spiritual. The devotion towards her became a proof for the nation. This aim of the Bharat Mata to be created, the national song to be created, came with the Vande Mataram movement. The Vande Mataram movement launched in 1905. In 1905, the British wanted to separate the Bengal province, saying that the administration was difficult. It's not the administration which was difficult, but they were alarmed at the growing spirit of national consciousness. They wanted to split the region of Bengal into Eastern Bengal and Western Bengal. Eastern Bengal, today's Bangladesh; Western Bengal, West Bengal is the Kolkata region. That was the situation where the people protested. They didn't want to get separated. They launched a mass struggle, protest rallies, poems, songs, and they designed a flag. One day Mataram movement with 8 lotuses, the moon and the sun. On the other, that is, the movement is called as a Swadeshi movement, the movement for our nation. Swa is self, deshi rule of ourself, rule of our people. They designed this flag with 8 provinces, and Gandhiji also designed another flag, and this flag contained the chakra, the wheel, which is a mark of self reliance. The flag of Vande Mataram carried 3 colors: green, yellow, red, and the flag of Gandhiji had 3 colors: white, green, and red. During the Swadeshi movement, the Bengal tricolor flag, red, green, yellow, was designed. 8 provinces, 8 lotuses represented 8 provinces of British India, and a crescent shape, half moon, representing the unity of Hindus and Muslims. Gandhiji, on the other hand, designed the tricolor with a spinning wheel, which represented self help. We are not dependent on anybody, but we rely on our self help. The first image of Bharat Mata painted by Sri Abanindranath Tagore. The Bharat Mata portrayed as depicted as a divine, calm, composed, ascetic, spiritual. The mother came to be seen as a evidence of one single nation, the spirit of national consciousness. This mother figure shown as dispensing learning, the willingness to learn, and we have enough of prosperity, the food, the clothing. Later reformed the visual art of Bharat Mata. Bharat Mata courageous, valiant, her each color signifies. Bharat Mata rich and prosperous with the vigor, and this depicted the dress in red or saffron. Saffron is the color of victory, color of courage, and saffron color sari holding the national flag or a saffron colored flag. She sometimes stands on a lotus and is accompanied by a lion. The Vande Mataram movement created a sense of collective belongingness amongst the people to ask for Swadeshi Vande Mataram, as the word itself says, salute our motherland, as a hymn to the motherland, and it was later included in the novel of Anand Matt, and it was sung during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal. Moved by the achievements of the Swadeshi movement and the sense of collective belongingness, there were two important people who composed poems and nursery rhymes, Rabindranath Tagore and Natesa Shastri. In Rabindranath Tagore, through his short stories, through his poems, through his songs, he created the sense of collective belongingness, the glory of our mother, Bharat Mata. Natesa Shastri from Tamil Nadu, he created the sense of collective belongingness through folklore, through poems, through songs, through ballets, where they have explained the greatness of the great rulers of our country and the contribution of India to the world. The flag had 8 lotuses representing 8 provinces of the British India, the crescent shaped moon representing the unity of Hindu Muslim, and in the flag of Gandhiji, the tricolor red, green, and white, and the spinning wheel the represented the self help. This is how the freedom of our country, with the great efforts of great people, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru struggling for the different masses and being a part of Congress, young member, Muhammad Ali Jinnah fighting for the Muslim League, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, Bhagat Singh, Bhagat Singh, he has sacrificed his life at the age of 23, and 23 is a very small age where he created a sense of collective belongingness from the Congress, the moderates, the extremists, the group of people who created the sense of collective belongingness in the minds of the people. Freedom is very precious, so everyone should know the value of freedom. So, saluting the nation on completion of 75 years of Indian independence, which stands still today with unity in diversity. In spite of being a multicultural, multilingual, multi religious country with different ethnicities, we salute the same national flag, sing the same national anthem, This freedom, which is bestowed to us by all the great personalities and the visionaries who wanted India to get back its past glory, it is in the hands of the young generation, where they will strive hard and make this nation once again rich and prosperous. Thank you so much. This